HQ presented by Enterprise, and look at the Sportsline optimal bracket. Doing pretty good, better than most out there. 13 of the 16 in the Sweet 16,
That's
6
incredible.
of the 8 alive in the Elite 8, and all 4 Final Four teams. It's not all chalk either, because there's a 3 seed and a 4 seed in the Final Four. Sportsline's MacKenzie Brooks is going to take us through the Sweet 16 and how they've kind of adjusted things with only 3 of those teams not making it. MacKenzie, good start. Let's start in the East with some really interesting matchups, because it's the rematch of last year's national championship game to start us off.
Yeah, and actually not that exciting for us here. We look at UConn versus San Diego State. We do give UConn around an 83% chance to win this game, so not too much to talk about here. I will say, if you want to compare that to last year in the final, the Sportsline model made this about a 7-point game. We look at this matchup here, we make it an 11-point game, so just proving that UConn is just as dominant, if not more dominant, than they were last year. Illinois, Iowa State. We're going to go with Illinois here. We like them on the money line. We like them to cover. This was really an act now play earlier this week, because we saw the steam from 2.5 go closer to 1.5 here. You see almost a pick 'em. What we love about Illinois is their home and road splits. I know I've mentioned it all through March Madness, but when you go to those neutral courts and your home and away splits are really in your favor, it will show up on these neutral courts. Iowa State, a team that thrives off turnovers here. Okay, and when you play a team that isn't turning the ball over that much, like Illinois, who only turned the ball over against 7 times against Duquesne, a team that really prides himself on their defense, I don't think Iowa State will find the same success here, so we're taking them to play UConn in the next round.
Those games in Boston, now heading to the west. These games in Los Angeles, where Arizona is going to have the home court advantage there in LA. But we start with a really interesting matchup between North Carolina and Alabama. Who do you like there?
We're taking Alabama, and you'll see that we take them pretty far here. This is really against the public. As far as a betting angle, you can probably wait on this. It seems to be going all over the place. You see some 3.5s out there. You see some 4.5. So if you can find a 4.5 on Bama, I would take them. But we also like Bama on the money line. We give them a 56% chance to win this game. North Carolina, important to know, they are leaving Charlotte and they're headed to Arizona. The road is not their friend. Of their 7 losses, 4 of them are on the road here. Baycott is not the same player he is at home when he's on the road. Alabama, their bigs, not awesome, but there's a ton of them, okay? So they all have some time and wiggle room to hack at Baycott, hopefully get him in some foul trouble there. So the model really bakes in Alabama's ceiling here, okay? We know that they can play better. They played poorly and won games, okay? So that means that the ceiling is still there. We haven't seen their full potential. I think it comes here. Then we go to Arizona beating Clemson. We do love Clemson. We actually like them to cover the 7.5, but as far as making it out of this round, we do like Arizona with around a 63% chance to do so. Clemson, small but critical sample size. They've been playing really well recently. I think, you know, they're pretty underseeded for the spot they're in, so I do like them to cover. You might be able to wait on this line, maybe get it closer to 8 here. There's no rush here, but I like them to cover. If you really want to thread the needle, take Arizona money line, Clemson plus the 7.5.
All right, you get those 7 points there to play with. That's in Los Angeles. In the West, let's go to the South. Houston, a 4.5-point favorite against a Duke team that I think a lot of people are going to take Duke here because of what we saw in the first couple rounds out of Houston.
Yeah, nothing crazy for us here. Honestly, if I were you, this is just a good basketball game to watch, not bet on. The model is pretty in line with the odds makers here. I will say a play we lean towards is actually the over. I think the public loves Houston and the unders, which makes sense given their defense. But Houston's offense has been objectively putting up some pretty high numbers. You have Duke averaging around 80 points on the season, and this number continues to go down. So another, closer to game time, you might be able to see this line get just low enough that you want to take the over in the spot. But we do love Houston ultimately. NC State versus Marquette, another team. We like Marquette to advance. We like Marquette technically on the money line, but we like NC State to cover here. I like them plus the 6.5. They've had the momentum, okay? The model doesn't account for momentum, but I'm here to tell you that NC State's playing awesome basketball. DR is playing awesome. Burns is playing awesome. This is a team that covers really well. Great home and road splits here. Marquette, like Iowa State, a team that thrives off turnovers, but in this matchup specifically, we have just about even amount of turnovers here, an even amount of possessions, which is a great spot for a team like NC State to cover, but ultimately we do think Marquette wins this game.
All right, so Houston and Marquette in the Dallas regional final. Let's go down to our last region here, and these might be the best 2 games in one location. Detroit in the Midwest, Purdue and Gonzaga in a rematch of a game we saw earlier this year.
Yeah, pretty awesome games, as you said. Purdue versus Gonzaga. We do like Purdue. However, we like Gonzaga to cover this game. This line continues to move towards Purdue, so another wait and see. You can probably get an even better line, maybe a 6 here come game time. So we like Gonzaga to cover. This is a team, relative to the teams Purdue has played, is battle tested, okay? They're not going to look at Edey and freeze and fall to the ground because they're so scared. I'm not saying they necessarily have someone to match up with him, but just a more battle tested team. They've played tough games through this entire season, so we like them to cover here in the spot. Again, no need to act on this 5.5. This just continues to go to Purdue, so wait and see what the best number is that you can get. As far as Creighton, Tennessee, I've said it all season. We love ourselves some Blue Jays here, okay? They haven't done anything to dissuade me that they can't go far in this tournament as well. We like them over Tennessee. Tennessee relies so heavily on out-rebounding teams. We don't think that's going to be the case here. You got Kalkbrenner, who's a great rebounder. You got Shireman, who's a great rebounder as well. So Creighton is going to match up with Tennessee in the spot. Tennessee shot like 10% against Texas Tech, just out-rebounded them. So this really is a one-dimensional show here. So I think Creighton can take advantage of that.
Yeah, that's bad for Amanda. Don't you have Tennessee in the championship game?
No.
You don't even know your own bracket, do you? I'm positive that you have Tennessee in the championship game.
UConn versus someone.
Yeah, Tennessee.
How would you know my bracket?
Because I looked at it.
You are such a psycho. Okay, MacKenzie. Sweet 16 is set, or excuse me, the Elite 8 is set. See, Chris is all in my head right now. Yes. In the East, you have UConn going up against Illinois. In the West, Alabama knocking off North Carolina. So our first 1 seed is done. Alabama going up against Arizona. Houston versus Marquette in the South, and in the Midwest, the 1 seed Purdue versus Creighton. I will say you told us early on in the very first Sportsline model, you were riding Creighton for a while here. So walk us through your Elite 8. Who makes it to the Final Four?
Yeah, I mean, Final Four, we got UConn playing Alabama here. Over here, we like Alabama to beat Arizona in this spot. I think if they're playing well enough to beat UNC, that means they're playing to their ceiling, and they can also beat Arizona here. Arizona, a team with pretty bad road splits here, so I think Alabama can take advantage of that. We end up with a UConn-Alabama Final Four here.
So not necessarily chalk. Again, a 4 seed.
Yeah.
Even though it's the optimal bracket, this is what, 50% or more on the simulations, you advance the team that has more than 50%, right?
Correct, and we give Alabama just over a 50% chance to beat Arizona here, so we're riding with the underdog here when we can take an underdog. Same with Creighton here. We give them, I think it's a 56% chance to beat Purdue. I've talked about it before. Creighton is one team that I think can take control of Edey here. They have Ryan Kalkbrenner, who's been playing awesome basketball through March. He doesn't foul. He's a clean player. He's a shooting threat. He'll draw Edey out of the paint here. And the other thing is they have a great center coming off the bench whose sole purpose will really just to be hack away at Edey. So between the shooting threat with Kalkbrenner and a guy coming off the bench that can just take care of the fouls on Edey here, I think that's a great spot for Creighton. We have them playing Houston in the Final Four as well.
Okay, yeah, so a 1, a 1, a 3, and a 4 in the Final Four, unchanged from the original optimal bracket that you have. And
yes.
In Glendale, Arizona for the Final Four, UConn against your highest seed in the Final Four, Alabama.
Yeah, UConn, again, I think at some point this will catch up to Alabama. They are an all-offense team. I don't think they'll be able to handle UConn's offense. Their defense is a little bit tough. This is just all around. Again, I've said it before. The only bad thing we have to say about UConn is that they won last year, and that's really the only thing working against them. Eventually, for Creighton, it is time to say goodbye to our Blue Jays. I think this Houston defense is just way too hard to beat. But when we talk about Final Four value, I will say for Alabama and Creighton, Alabama, the odds makers are really implying around an 18% chance for them to make it here. We double that. We give them closer to around 33% chance, or I guess not double, but pretty close to it. Same with Creighton. Odds makers only giving them around a 15% chance to make it, and we give it around 30% chance as well. So between the two of them, that's a lot of value that you can get on both of these teams. I would get that now before these games start to take place this weekend, because I think there's a great shot both of these teams make it. And as far as national championship value as well, if you look at UConn, Houston, and Creighton, I think we all have great value on. We give them a better percent chance than the odds makers imply. I don't know what Creighton needs to do to get some respect from the odds makers here. They beat UConn in the regular season. Their odds didn't even change. They're around plus 3,000. You see them at 2,500 right now. Even though they keep beating these great teams, it's still around 2,500. So I think that's a great value spot. In between UConn, Houston, and Creighton, all good championship value. Alabama and Creighton, all good Final Four value as well.
Good
value.
value.
Amanda's bracket here. Oh, there it is. Huh.
Okay, first of all,
UConn,
MacKenzie,
Tennessee
I apologize
in the championship
that Chris keeps interrupting you. I will say that we have, 49 people in our office thing. I am sitting at 17. Do you know where you are, Chris?
I know, you're ahead of me. But
you were like at 29.
You don't even know who you have in the championship.
Sometimes those end up better.
MacKenzie, Chris, this is her segment. This is not your segment. Let's go. Did we talk about the UConn? Did you even get to go over UConn?
Were you not listening?
Yeah,
I was, but
we talked value. We got all the future values. We're locked and loaded here, guys. We're locked and loaded.
Amanda's a mess.
You're the worst.
She's a mess. Inside the Lines, powered by the Sportsline model, MacKenzie Brooks and others. Weekdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, live on the Sportsline page on YouTube. Model picks, live betting, and live chat Q&A as well.